Good morning, everybody. Hopefully, everyone had a good Labor Day. I did. Uh, it was a full day of shows, but I did have a good day. Um, Today we have a brand new person to my world. Okay, I have never had interaction with Raquel. I think I got her name right this time. I got it wrong off screen, but I think I got it right now. Kirksey, and she'll be giving her interview and story today. So I'm looking forward to hearing it. Yesterday we had Richie, lifelong friends. I'm going from known to unknown, so this should be interesting. So I want to thank everyone for being here. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you guys to Raquel. Kablam.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good, good, good. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes here to give a little synopsis of who and you are, and we'll get back into your actual story once you're done. I'll pop back in if I sense that you're getting uncomfortable. I won't leave you. I won't leave you to freak out on screen. So
All right.
no worries about that. So I'll be back. Have your 2 minutes
All
to
right.
share your story. All right.
Raquel Kirksey here, 35 years old. Been around the block a few times. Just here, telling my story. From when I was little, when I was just little, I had a lot of struggles growing up. Always knew that I wasn't a part of any crew. Always felt like I didn't fit in a mold. Always felt like the outcast, but it wasn't up until now that throughout my struggles and throughout the time that I've been here on earth that I realized it's not about me fitting in the mold, because I never knew that I was born to not be a part of that mold, but actually be set apart. So that's a short snippet of my story, basically. So yeah.
Good. Good. So that gives me a good direction to head to.
Okay.
Good. That leads me to my first question.
Okay.
Um, so you said that when you were younger, you always felt like you didn't fit in. I can totally identify with that particular mindset. Um, so what exactly that you think transpired when you were younger that caused that emotional upheaval to happen in your world? What exactly you think took place that made you feel not a part?
Okay. Well, so I grew up in the church.
Mm-hmm.
My daddy was a preacher. My mom was my Sunday school teacher. So like I grew up in the church, and not only that, but I felt ostracized inside of the church and outside of the church. So like at school, there would always be like cliques of people, how people are. They have like, these are my best friends and these are my homies, and they all hang together. But then like they kind of just like shun you out. And even if you were like the most talented person, like I used to play basketball and all kind of sports, run track in middle school, and would be the most talented person out there, and would push you aside just because they didn't know who you were.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even at church, so I started with church, but I'm also a singer, and at church I kind of got picked on a lot, even though I was like probably the tallest kid in the bunch of the kids. But I got picked on a lot at church, even by like the leaders and things like that. So I always kind of felt like, all right, I'm alone. Like it's just me by myself. And, I just felt bad because of it. I always thought it was something wrong with me because I could never like blend in with everybody else. So that's kind of
Did that lead you to believe that God felt the same way, or did you isolate it to just those people?
for a while I would just think it was just those people. But as I got older, like I would start to feel like, okay, God, why me? Like, why am I always the only person that got to go through this? How come everybody else, they got all these friends, they got all these people that they chilling with, and like, I want to be like that. And like for years, I would like pray. I'd be like, God, will you just send me somebody that was just like my friend, and like just because I didn't fit in. So I started to get angry with him and just started to reach out on my own and get my own friends in my own way. and that didn't pan out so well.
Hmm.
But yeah, I
Did
for
did you leave the church?
never did I walk away from the church physically. Spiritually, I definitely took some turns that I shouldn't have taken. Like I have stepped out on the church. I have stepped out on God and not done what He told me to do. Just because I'm like, well, if you ain't gonna do what I'm asking you to do, why would I do what you asking me to do?
Mm-hmm.
So took that approach, and it caused me a lot of heartache. But I'm glad it was part of my story.
So let's run that rabbit hole down a little bit.
All
Um,
right.
when you say you stepped out, because I make a separation between the church and God.
Mhm.
The church is supposed to be an arm, but they sometimes don't behave like it. And
True.
today more than ever, they're not like it at all. They seem to be more of a social club, or they seem to be a conglomerate of people that if you don't agree, then don't come here, kind of thing. So they're not really pro God; they're pro union, and I don't think that's the way it's supposed to be made up. But when you decide to step out, um, what exactly was your emotional state towards God, not the church, towards God Himself in that time away? Like, did you talk to Him? Did you really hate Him? What was your state?
I don't think I ever hated God per se. I was angry with Him for not giving me what I was asking for at that moment. So I just started to rebel because I was not getting everything that I was asking for when I was asking for it. And it wasn't, like it wasn't understood that maybe you ain't need that at that time. But I was still like, you ain't gonna give me what I want. All right, let me go get it. You ain't gonna give me the husband I want. Let me go find it. You're not gonna give me this type of job. Okay, let me go do what I need to do to get what I need to get. Like that's the attitude that I took with it. I was angry. I never cursed God, like, like some people actually go through that. Like they actually curse God, like, okay, I can't stand you, like I don't want nothing to do with you. But it was just kind of like, all right, I know you're still there, but I'm gonna do my thing in the meantime till you decide to do it. I'm asking you to do, as if I
Mhm.
was God and
Mm.
He was my genie or something. I don't know.
I have been there,
Yeah.
except I was the one that was telling him I hated him.
Hmm.
And it is a scary place to be, but at the time I didn't care.
Yeah.
Did you ever get to the point where you didn't care whether or not he answered you again?
That's a good question. I don't think I got to a point where I didn't care because I was always at a place where I was broken and always asking, like, okay, why are you not saving me from myself?
Hmm.
Like, I knew He was there. And I was just like, why are you not saving me from myself? Why are you letting me do this? Why are you letting me destroy myself? And you're not stopping me. So I'm just going to keep doing it because you're supposed to stop me.
Hmm.
And He didn't. So,
So what broke you? What broke you from the pattern that was destructive?
um, honestly, okay. So I got into an abusive relationship. And this was like one of the final straws, like one of them. It was nearly to where I was at the end of everything. So I got into an abusive relationship. It was physically abusive, mentally abusive, and when I thought that I should have been done, it was even to a point where dude, he was 6'4",
Hmm.
dang near 350 pounds, huge, and would find every reason to put his hands on somebody. Me, 5'7", 5'7", a buck 75 at the time, and you try to manhandle somebody. So I, you know, I suffered a great injury because of it. I had my ACL torn. I had to cover for him. And after coming out of that relationship, I just realized that the pattern that I was on, I was going to end my life.
Hmm.
Like, I was literally, if I wasn't going to take myself out because of all the hurt that I'd endured, somebody was going to take me out. So it wasn't until after that relationship that I really started like searching. Like, okay, what you want me to do? I ain't been listening. What do you want me to learn from all of this? Where you want me to
Hmm.
be? And it still took me time after that, like maybe a year or two later, and I was like, all right, I'm still trying to act crazy, but all right, fine. Let's do it your way. That's what I got to that point. Let's do it your way. Cool. All right. I mean, it cannot hurt any worse than it does now. And
Now,
so when
you
I got there, is when
go
stuff
ahead.
started to change.
When you mentioned suicide,
Mm-hmm.
um, how far down that road did you take that idea?
Um,
Did you ever fully encapsulate yourself in the concept of going through with it, or was it just something that was a fleeting thought because you were mad? What exactly? Because I'm talking from a person who've tried it. I've tried it multiple times.
yeah.
I know what the mind does, but I don't know what exactly in your experience what exactly brought you to this to that point. I mean, I understand the abuse and God not saving you from yourself, but I sense there's something that was happening deeper than that brought you to that place of I want this done. What exactly was that?
Yeah. It was honestly okay. So from when I was younger, way from when I was younger, I already had issues as far as trust goes because of my dad.
Hmm.
Love my dad to this day, but from the beginning, it wasn't so great. Like now we have a great relationship, but from the beginning, I had trust issues. I saw you walk out, I saw you leave, I saw all this other stuff happen. I, we were sitting in the dark at times, so I already had like a deep rooted issue with males from the very first male relationship I had. And so to keep going through that over and over and over and over again, it started to feel like, all right, God, you don't care about me.
Hmm.
Like, you don't care. Like, you gave me this from the beginning, and now it's like, I'm here and I'm crying out for you to help me, and you won't help me. So why am I here? So that's where, like, it got to that point, and it was just like, just end it. Like, just let it go. Did I actually attempt to do it? No. I couldn't bring myself to do anything like that. I actually drove over one night on the side of the road and I hopped out my car and I just stood there. And I was like, I should walk out there. And I didn't. And there was nothing but God that said, girl, get your butt back in that car.
Hmm.
And I heard it clear as day, get your butt back in that car. Got back in the car. And the McGrace that saved me because literally 18 wheeler just passed right after that. Just like that. And at that point, I was like, all right, I'm just kidding. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I'm just kidding. What do I need to do? So yeah.
Now you mentioned earlier on. I don't know if you made this tie yet,
Mhm.
but he just made it for me in my head, and this is why I think it's important for people to share stories
Yeah.
because you said you've been asking him to save you from yourself.
Mhm.
You do realize that's what he did that day.
Mhm.
So he had been listening to you.
Mhm.
But what I find about God is that he picks the most grandiose way to introduce himself. Like he'll find the most extravagant and outlandish way of saying, "Yo, what's up, man? I'm here."
Yeah.
Um, and it took you stepping to the brink of I'm going to do this to like, no, you're not. I got you. You're not going to do it. Just
Mm-hmm.
just just come back this way. And I'll show you why I got you to the point where I knew exactly when to bring you back from the
Mm-hmm.
edge. Um, so you're married now.
Yes.
You're a newlywed. It's been a year and what? A year and a few weeks?
A year and a few days.
Oh my. Okay. So
Yeah.
he brought you from walking out in front of a semi to having and away from trust issues with men
Mm-hmm.
to married in what kind of time span? How long ago was
Mm.
that semi?
I would say maybe in 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he worked pretty quickly.
Yeah. The crazy thing about that though, like, honestly, like, kid you not, when you say he works quickly, like he really worked quickly. Cause the day I said, all right, you know what, I'm done.
Hmm.
God, I'm done. I'm about to do whatever you tell me to do. I'm finna clink clink. Ain't nobody getting in. Like it is what it is. I swear, maybe 2 weeks later, that's when I got my first message from my husband today.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
it was so crazy because I was like, dang, all you had to do was just like listen. And then
Go figure. All you gotta do is let it go
this whole time,
for
2
him to
weeks is
hand
all
it
I was waiting for.
for him to hand it over. Right. All you had to do was say, "Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done."
And
Not
actually
ask him
put
to
it
do
into
something.
practice.
Right. It's not asking him to do something. How about you do something? How about you just quit?
Yes.
How about quit? How about quit? And then we can move forward on some stuff here. Because I've been having this waiting, but you've been being you.
Yeah.
I can't work. I
You've
can't
been
work.
doing your thing.
And that's what that's what you said, that you've been doing your own
Yeah.
thing because he apparently hadn't been doing his. Meanwhile,
Mm-hmm.
he's been waiting for you to let him do his instead of doing your own thing.
Absolutely.
Um, I want to just touch on something about your dad.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned some trust issues with him, um, and that your relationship is better now than it was then.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you ever look back and realize that, hey, that relationship was a certain way because of my view, not necessarily what he was doing? Or do you still think everything that you saw that was bad was all him?
It's a combination
Mm-hmm.
of things. Um, because oh no, yeah, it's a combination. I can say both. My view is different. I
Mm-hmm.
was younger. I was a lot younger. So whatever I saw was just 10 times as worse because you idolize your parents when you're younger. Like those are the people that you look up to. And so from when they hurt you, it's kind of like, dang, like I ain't got nobody else. Y'all the only people I know.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, yeah, I would say he still did some pretty bad things, but
Do you ever talk to him about it?
I have probably like once when I was maybe 18 or 19. I came to my dad and I told him a lot of stuff that I had already been through at that point because when I was 14, I got raped. And it was my first experience with anything. And so I kind of felt like, well, because you weren't there, that happened. Because you weren't there to watch me, I was out here doing whatever I felt like doing, and this wouldn't happen if you was here. And I just kind of like I wrote him a letter because I know he's not really big of a talker. And then I asked him, "Hey, can I read it to you?" And I didn't think that anything would come out of that because he's not a big talker. but he did apologize, and it made me feel better. Because I didn't even think that I would get that, and he was just like, "I'm sorry." It wasn't much more words, but I didn't need more than that. Um, but yeah, we've talked about it, and even to this day, for our relationship to get where it was, it took that abusive relationship for me to be like, "Hey, Daddy, our relationship ain't where it should be. Like, we need to talk more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd like to talk to you every day if I could." And from that, the relationship got better.
Do you still possess any animosity towards him to where you just feel like it doesn't make any sense to talk to him about it anymore because you're like you won't get anywhere? I because I just need to know whether or not that's the case because if you're applying a life lesson of letting God do what God got to do, are you applying that to the relationship with your dad?
Yes.
You are.
I don't I don't hold anything against him. And honestly, that's only because of God. Like, I don't hold anything against him. I know what he went through is his own story. And what he went through had nothing to do with me. For a while I thought it was me. Like, it was me that chased you away. It was me that
Mm,
made you go do these things.
mm.
You didn't want to be with us. And I don't feel that way. I feel like you went through what you went through because of what you was doing. And it had nothing to do with me. And I forgive you. And I had to let it go. Otherwise, it would drive me crazy, make me sick, and can't hold that kind of hate in your heart.
How is your relationship with mom?
No, great. she's she's always been there. She's been there for everything, everything. She's been there for every heartache, every tear. Yeah,
Did she act at all on that event at 14?
she didn't know.
Okay. So neither one of them were
No,
privy to that information.
I didn't tell anybody until I was well into my 20s. I didn't tell anybody.
Okay, so you're a female. We're not doing the identity politics here. This is a woman, okay? This is a woman, okay, people?
A
This is a
woman.
woman. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Um, do you believe that there is a stigma, that big of a stigma attached to that type of an event in a young girl's life?
Hold on.
that that they refuse to talk to people about it because it reflects on them? I mean, what was your thought process as to why you wouldn't divulge that information to somebody that was supposed to be a protector, mom or dad?
Embarrassment because I was doing stuff I ain't had no business doing.
You thought you brought
Um,
it on yourself?
yeah, yeah, I feel that way, but I don't feel that way now. Like, it's nothing you can do to make somebody do that to you.
Right.
Like, you, the thought process just as an adolescent, it just wasn't there. But I do feel like I brought it on myself. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time on my own accord. So,
Hmm.
and had I not been doing that, nothing would have happened.
Um, have you ever thought of being an advocate of any kind for women or girls who feel that same way with that same event along those same age groups? And
Yeah.
being that you've moved past the high idea of the shame, guilt, well, I put myself in that position kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, because you're not the only one I've heard say this, that the shame of it is what kept me from telling people.
Mhm.
But at the same time, blame the people that were supposed to protect them for not protecting them.
Mm.
Like they have this, the reality is, yes, parents are supposed to be a stopgap. You don't go out the house past a certain. I know who your friends are,
Mhm.
on and on and on. The second part is that you have the responsibility to also protect yourself by not putting
Mhm.
yourself in certain situations, even after I tell you not to put yourself in there. The third
Yeah.
part is telling me as a parent, you as a child, telling the parent, this is what happened. This needs to be dealt with, and I need to be emotionally relieved from this issue. And I think that's when most women stop.
Mm-hmm.
The guilt is so intense that they never tell, because if they tell, then they have to divulge the fact that they've forgot all these other stopgaps along the way to protect them from that situation. And
Mm-hmm.
then they make it worse because they never go to the third part of telling the people that were supposed to protect them.
Mm-hmm.
So how exactly, if you were to give advice to women listening, what advice would you give them? Not to move past it, that they're in that mental space of I can't tell anybody because of this, and this. What advice would you give them, knowing that you're at where you're at now?
Um, Honestly, it was a friend that told me after me telling them, they were like, you need to tell somebody. It's always better to find, and not your peer, not somebody that's gonna ride or die with you. Find somebody. It don't matter who it is. Somebody that you trust that's not gonna be there to hurt you, and tell somebody. Like, you have to tell somebody, because if you don't, then it will hurt you more to sit with it for all the time that you'll sit with it. And that guilt will eat you up. It will eat you alive. It will cause you to do things to yourself, as it did to me, that you don't want to have to go through. Like, you don't, it's not necessary that you have to go through that. You already went through enough going through that traumatic situation. It's as hard as it is. I wish I would have told somebody. Even my mom, I wish I would have told my mom, because I felt like if I told her, she would have been disappointed, and she would have been disappointed because I put myself in that position. But it would have been better to have helped me, to have gotten me the
Hmm.
help that I needed early on, rather than wait until I figured it out
Do you
later.
do you think that it caused undue stress later on, past 14, to the point where you? I mean, I understand the trauma of the situation. I don't understand the trauma of the situation, but I
Mm-hmm.
understand the trauma of the situation. Um, Outside of the physical trauma that caused emotional trauma, the not telling portion is also traumatic.
Yeah.
Um, do you believe in your mind that having held on to the secret of it made living exponentially harder for you, or do you think that you kind of saved yourself from what you considered more guilt and even more stress by keeping it to yourself?
I think the stress of it, keeping it away early on, was more of me saying, okay, I'm saving myself from the guilt. As time went by, maybe a few years, it started to turn into numbness.
Mm-hmm.
So it was at a point where I just shut it off and I pretended I didn't care anymore. But not realizing it was still like hurting me.
Mm.
Like, in everything that I was doing, it was still hurting me because I still felt it. I just didn't know
What to
where it
do
was
with it?
coming from at that point.
Hmm.
So
Does your hubby have to deal with any of that trauma today?
say it again.
Do you have to find yourself having to deal with that trauma again, even now in your marriage?
Um,
And if I'm getting too
it
personal,
does.
just let me know.
No, no,
Okay.
no, 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 no. You're fine.
Okay, okay, okay.
you're you're fine.
Okay.
Um, it does affect you in a way. Um, and it's not, has nothing to do with him. It's just sometimes you do have a flashback. Sometimes you do think about certain things, and it may make you push back a little bit. But you fight harder. You tell yourself, okay, this is not that person. This person is not here to hurt you. This person is here to love you. And as long as your spouse is willing to be that voice of like reason or be that gentle spirit. Like my husband, I thank God for him because he'll be like, "Look, I love you. I'm not here for that. Like, let's do what we need to do." Um, but yeah, it does affect you going on. Time as time goes by, it's a little less. But like every now and then, you think about it, you're like, "Dang, okay." It'll take you back a little bit, but you push through.
So he gave you, after all of that, he gave you a male figure that you can trust, a male figure that will protect, and a male figure that you can be a friend to through
Hmm.
all the trauma that you had been through. Do you consider that a success story?
I do. I definitely do.
And
Okay.
does the now you had mentioned to me backstage that you do intend on having mini yous and mini hims.
Yeah.
Um, you didn't give your age, so I'm not feeling bad by saying you better get on that.
No,
You better
you're right.
you better
You're
get
right.
on it. Okay.
You're right.
you you better get on. You have an idea how many you want?
If I could get one, I'd be happy.
Yeah, you're gonna want more than one.
Really?
Yeah. I'll tell you why. Um,
Okay.
having multiple, it is it's a stressor. I'm not gonna lie. Kids are a pain in the absolute behind sometimes. Okay, trust me, I think God created them the same time he created that red button on you. And they have a fingerprint that matches that button and they know exactly how and when to push it. So just understand that gonna happen, that they know. But there is also a second button that you will never, 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 never get tired of them pushing, and that's the love button. And I don't think you'll ever get tired of the the things that you may have missed out on as a kid. And I think the value of having gone through what you've gone through will make you a more attentive parent. It'll make you a more aware parent because you've gone through the things of not having love, not having attention, not having protection. And you'll find yourself making it even more of a priority to give that to your children. But having more of them does something innately to you. Like it's an aphrodisiac. Like it's crazy, but the stress is way outweighed by the love that you feel within the household, especially having been through the kind of trauma you've been through. But that's just my 2 cents about kids. I mean, everybody's kids is different, but uh, you're muted for some reason. Your sound is gone. Did a call come in? That's what happened. Okay, so here's what we'll do: leave and come back, and the sound will come back. Yeah, so I'll wait. That happens with iPhones too. If you get a phone call while you're live, you're gonna knock the sound out and never bring it back for some silly reason. Um, I really like this interview. This is a really good interview because I think this one is for the women who have been traumatized by both relationships with parents and people that you've put yourself in that position to have abused you, or you know, women need to understand that there's no need to feel like that. There's no need to have the guilt. Um, the coming forward with it is necessary. Unfortunately, things like that happen, but you need to be able to say, this happened for your own sake, not for the sake of punishment, not for the sake of righting the wrong, but for your own sake. And that's the most important sake. Um, because you're only going to make things not just worse for you, but for anyone else that comes into your circle that might genuinely care and not have that aim to harm you. You have so many women moving around now with internal pain that they never let go of. And I'm really glad to see that she has um, let go of that. Welcome back.
Hi.
There you go. It's working. Good.
Okay.
I'm going to tell it's an iPhone problem. No, I'm just kidding. Um, so, yeah, kids. So,
So
two is okay. Two is fine. You have enough time for two.
my husband has a daughter
Hmm.
previous to us getting married. and she's 2. She'll be 3 here in the next few weeks. And I feel like um I've been in preparation mode for like when I do actually have a birth child, because I love her as if she's my own.
Mm-hmm.
Me and her have our own story as it is. Like when I first met her, we were cool, but then right after that, it was kind of like that's my daddy, move out the way. And so after we got through that hump, we were good, and we've been good ever since. But she's been kind of like my preparation, like because I've been with her since diapers, and she's just now finished potty training, so it's kind of like
uh,
we
I
growing
got
together.
I got bad news for you. I got
Uh
really bad
oh.
news for you. Really
Uh
bad
oh.
news for you.
Go ahead.
That don't got nothing to do with blood.
Oh.
Uh, Daughters are different. You should know. Daughters that you are one.
Mm-hmm.
You and daddy are, you don't cross. No, you nobody is gonna come. No, that's no. My dad. Okay,
I
that's how
do
it is.
not.
That's how it is.
I
Okay.
do not. I let her have her thing. That's her
Yeah.
dad, and
But if you have a boy, that's gonna be that's
that's
gonna
what
be a
I
ride or die.
feel.
Okay.
I'm
That's
like,
gonna
I
be a
need
ride or
a
die.
boy. I need somebody on my team.
He's gonna be a ride or die. However, they both will eventually gravitate a lot to pops.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but unfortunately, still, regardless of how much daddies matter, the boy can still get on TV and say, "Thank you, mom." And I don't get that one. Like, mom didn't teach you nothing about football. I don't know why you're telling mom thanks. I was the one that taught you that. I like that don't make no sense to me. But I digress.
Oh.
But in for you, and this positive thing is that this whole rift that happens in and out of relationship with the kids, it'll happen again.
Mm-hmm.
They're finding themselves. They're finding a relationship with you and with dad, and they have to split themselves between the two, and they will pick one or the other at some point, and then back and forth. So don't let that stress you out too much, because it's going to happen. If you have another one or two, it's going to happen more, and
Yeah.
you just got to let it happen. Don't take it too personal. Take it a little personal and make sure they know it, but don't take it too personal.
I took it extremely personal in the beginning. I was like, babe, I don't know, because we were like right before we got engaged. I was just like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I don't think I'm cut out for it. Like, I was ready to check out, and he was like, look, no, just give it time. She's gonna be all right. She can come around.
Hmm.
And I was like, all right, we gonna see. And then
Yeah,
it got
yeah, and you become good friends eventually. I mean, that's what
mm-hmm.
happens. But um, your story, um, I think, from what I'm hearing, is one that a lot of women needed to hear. You've been through, unfortunately, what I think a lot of young women have been through, that they refuse to admit that they've been through,
Mm-hmm.
for the same reasons you didn't admit what you'd been through, because of the pain that it brought to you.
Yeah.
Um, I believe your story will help a myriad of people that hear it, because you've lived out the trauma of not telling it, and when you should have told it, but you've also experienced something that no woman should ever have to experience, because of fathers not doing their job.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Being a dad myself, I don't ever want to be left in that position where I didn't do what I needed to do to protect my. I do have a daughter. I don't want that to ever be the case. Um, but if it's any consolation, now the things we endure younger or in a prior life only serve to remind us that when God does eventually move, or we allow him to do what he got to do, we look back and realize, man, I could have made this easier on myself if I had just done this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But you also wouldn't have had that recollection, that recognition, if you hadn't gone through it. It's a really crazy dynamic of the fall sometimes helps the walk, and then the walk will help you not fall, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I want to thank you for being honest enough to tell us the story. Um, it is not easy. I can't imagine it being easy to recall and say, what had happened. Um, But I do thank you for it, because I realize in the chat there's about 3 people that mentioned that they had been through the same thing and went to the same direction, didn't tell nobody.
Wow.
But we don't need that to be the case. We need more women, young girls that go through this stuff to say. We can't really do much about the trauma if we don't know about it, and you
Right.
can't get past the trauma if you don't expose it, as painful as it might be at the time.
I was just having this conversation not too long ago with one of my friends, my female friends, who have been through a similar situation. And a lot of times people cover up for people that do stuff like that too, especially if it's happening within our families. And that has got to stop. It is like killing our families, because we're not protecting our young girls, we're not protecting our boys. It's happening to them too. And it's like, okay, well, Uncle so-and-so did this to her, and we're not going to cover it because everybody like Uncle so-and-so. Like, they got to stop, man. Like, we got to protect our kids, protect our youth, because they're our future.
It's the next generation we're killing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any parting words that you want to offer to the audience as some sage advice?
Ooh, the only thing I can say is, at the end of the day, when you think that God is not hearing you, even though it may feel like he's not answering, sometimes his silence may not be a no, it may just be not right now. And sit and wait it out. Because that not right now, you may not be ready for whatever that is that you're asking for. You might not be ready for it, because I know I was not ready for what I was asking for, but I wanted it. So just take the silence as, hold on, I'm not ignoring you. I'm here, I'm listening, but just wait.
I love that. I can't add to that one. That's just great advice. Absolutely great advice. Thank you for offering your story. I'm glad we had this sit down, and I'm glad I got to know you better. That will make our interactions on Facebook a little more personal now. That'll be good. For those in the audience that have sat through the interview, thank you for listening. And for those who have been through the same situations, my heart goes out to you, and I hope that you do find the healing from that trauma, and that you find a way to get past that and hand that over to God, because he does want to take it away. He doesn't want you to sit in that. So thank you again for being here. For those of you that might be wanting to find my channel, I'll put the link down in the comment section. Please feel free to go over and subscribe to it. Josie, is that your family right there?
That's my husband.
Inbox me, bro. Inbox me, man. Inbox me, bro. We can definitely plug you in. I mean, I'm a month booked out, but I'm definitely gonna plug you in. It'd be good to have you bookended. Like, if you the interviews start with your wife and end with you, I'd be down to do that. Just inbox me, add me as a friend, and we'll go forward from there. The link to the channel's in the chat. I think it added it into the Facebook chat. I'm not sure if it did. Yeah, it did. Okay, good. So feel free to sub over there, because this will be going on for a month long. We have a lot of people that wanted to get interviewed, and I'm really glad this was initially the first, although it's the second, it's the real first one that I've had. So thank you again. Thank you for all who tuned in. And I will say what I normally tell everybody: wisdom calls to you from the street. Please, please, please find wisdom. Peace.